My name is Maximilian, and in this video I will be discussing my second idea on how to solve the BP oil leak problem. This week BP came with good news announcing that they were able to control the oil spill. Today, unfortunately, there arose some speculation that the well needs to be reopened because of gases that are escaping from it. While BP tries to optimize their structure, I believe it's of importance for research communities to keep exploring and experimenting with different angles of approach. And that's why I've been working hard on a second valve concept. If you're not familiar with my previous work, I suggest clicking on the following link to view it. It could be helpful to look at this material because it gives you a better understanding of the framework I have been using. Furthermore, I will not be discussing the technical details of concepts that have already been explained in my previous video, so it's best to review it if you want to have a full understanding of the concept. Okay, let's talk about the invention. Before I start with the holistic analysis, I would like to give a quick recap of the most important factor that influenced the design. It is important to understand that this machine, even though it's a complex apparatus, was invented to be extremely simplistic in its use. The remote operating vehicle can only accomplish relatively basic tasks, so the machine had to be submarine friendly. That being said, let's look at some pictures I prepared. The picture that you see in front of you shows the different stages of the device and the different elements that it consists of. We can see that the device has four major elements: the spider, the anchor, the valve, and the screw thread that runs to the middle of those items. The spider attached to the front of the device is a type of spring that makes sure that the machine stays centered and can compensate for small unintended angles present in the pipe. In addition, its function is to make the whole pipe penetration process easier. The anchor is attached between the spider and the valve and has the capacity to fold and unfold. The anchor gets its strength from pushing itself off against the sidewalls of the pipe. At the end, we have the valve that, like the anchor, has the capacity to open and close. The last element is the screw thread that runs through the heart of each item. This is an essential element in controlling the moving objects of the device. Because all the elements of the machine are being inserted into the pipe simultaneously, they have been designed for minimal resistance, ensuring the most efficient penetration process. The pictures show how much space there is left for the oil to flow between and around the device. Now, this has been the global picture. Let's have a look at how this can be technically achieved. In my previous video, I clearly explained how the anchor can be folded and unfolded. It basically opens and closes by using two bolts with opposite thread that are positioned opposite of each other on an inverted screw thread. By turning the screw thread, the anchor will subsequently open or close. It's interesting to note that in this setup, the anchor will be able to deploy even faster because of the extra generated resistance created by the spider and valve. If you want to have a more thorough explanation of the anchor, please view my previous video, because from this point onwards, I need my time to explain the complexity of the valve. The following picture clearly shows how the valve has the capacity to fold and unfold. It gained this capacity because the 8 valve doors were split into 2 groups that were able to make different turning circles. 4 valve doors were placed on hinges that rest on the inner anvil, and 4 were placed on hinges that rest on the outer anvil, ensuring different turning circles. In the picture here, we see that the yellow hinges have the outer turning circle, while the red hinges have the inner turning circle. However, different turning circles do not suffice for opening a round valve. An opening and closing motion can only be achieved if the valve doors differ on the height dimension as well. That's why 4 of the valve doors are positioned slightly lower than the other 4. In this picture, we can see how the 2 deviating rings of hinges were placed as close as possible to the valve door surface center, giving me more control over the external force that tries to abruptly push open the valve. In other words, I try to create a balance by moving the turning point towards the middle of the surface area, resulting in an almost equal amount of force pushing down on each side of the turning point. Now that we understand this concept, I can move on to explaining how the valve components function when the propulsion mechanism is being turned. At the base we find the propulsion system. It is assembled in the exact same manner as explained in my previous video. It basically operates with a ball thrust bearing that is attached to the device on one side, while the other part of the ball thrust bearing is attached to a nut that runs over the screw thread. When we start to turn this nut, the weaker top spring will be compressed. This motion will open all the valve doors. Note that turning the nut will drive upwards both the inner and outer anvil. The inner anvil is yellow and the outer anvil is red in this picture. It will also drive upwards the green pipe which is welded to the lowest anvil. The anchor is preventing the top hat, which is pink in this picture, to move into that direction, so the pipe will slide through the heart of the top hat, subsequently opening the valve doors. Once the valve doors are open and the top spring is compressed, the stronger lower spring will start to compress and push the lower outer ring anvil upwards. This motion will seal the lower 4 valve doors that are able to move upwards, because of the upward movement will be compensated by little springs built into the spring arms we see over here. Now I would like to close up by thanking all the people that have shown interest in my videos and those who have made an effort to forward this information. In my previous video I shortly talked about this being both a technical and a social experiment. I made the hypothesis that the video could potentially reach a BP engineer in 5 steps. Now I'm not aware of my video reaching a BP engineer, but my video was forwarded on 2 occasions to the US Department of Energy and underwent an internal review process within the department. From a network theory perspective, it's interesting to see that it took less than 1 week time for this information to reach its destination. Again, I would like to thank all the people that have shown interest in this video, and thanks for watching it. Bye.